You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is another Friday episode, and it is episode number 149. I'm Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram. Co-hosting with me as usual is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess. We are live at the National. No, just kidding. We couldn't make it this year, but it seems as I scroll on Instagram that everyone else was able to make the trek to Chicago to attend in person. So I know we're feeling a bit of FOMO here, but hope all of our hobby and podcast friends are having a great time out there. We discussed right before the show that we got to make it a priority to go out to Cleveland next year to attend. So next July can't come soon enough for us.
Denny's giving us 10-minute updates on his Instagram every 10 minutes. Great. So it feels like we're there. Thanks, Denny.
Yeah, I live vicariously through Denny for sure.
And we've been DMing. We're going to try to get him on the show in a couple weeks when he comes back, and he could give us a kind of a his experience out there. And actually, yeah, we might try to get other guests who are currently at the National and just kind of do like a post-National month of shows with interesting guests coming up. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, but for today, off the top, I did want to briefly chat about some of the things from the National we've been seeing from a distance and get our thoughts on them. And let's just start with Derek Jeter. He's there right now. That's kind of cool. Of course, he's representing Arena Club, which he co-founded. So for me, that would have been worth the price of admission just to get a photo with the captain. Thoughts on Jeter being there and if he makes any impact on the hobby? What do you guys think?
Yeah, and like for me, anytime you get a big name, kind of like celebrity like that, I think it's great for the hobby. I think that's what Michael Rubin's been doing, in terms of just building awareness with these, A-list type celebrities. And, Jeter's no different. I think he's so crucial to the sport and hobby that, an event like that would basically attract a lot of people. So I think it's definitely good for the hobby. I'm expecting more now that, maybe there's going to be a lot more appearances from, bigger celebrities and, get the marketing a bit with Fanatics. So especially with their, networks of people.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's there for Arena Club.
Yes.
Nice.
He is.
Yeah, I think that's that's awesome. That, most major shows will have guest appearances by athletes and whatnot. And to have the biggest sports card show in the world, it would make sense to have some big celebrities show up, and whether they're paid or they come on their own. But either way, I think, it's definitely a good thing. I mean, if you're attending the National and you get to meet Jeter, like how amazing is that?
That's pretty cool. Yeah, for sure. I know Gary Vee's there as well, but a lot of people we're familiar with too. So it's kind of cool to see them all in one spot for sure. A couple of other things I heard about the venue actually itself in Chicago, or I think it's like an hour outside of Chicago in Rosemount. From the great curator and from our friend Denny Cards, who we just mentioned, they say it's really hot inside. It's like sweltering. So I haven't really heard about complaints about the Wi-Fi, which we have previously. But I wonder, with potential competition from Fanatics events, which we talked about in a previous episode, do you think the National needs to focus on making the experience better for vendors and attendees in the future? Because they've essentially had kind of a monopoly for years and years. What do you guys think? For
sure. Like I'm realizing how important experience is myself. Just, is it worth my time to kind of attend? But a lot of people, even like there's jokes out there where it's like, yeah, you get all these deals at the National, or you're saving a couple $100 here, you're spending thousands to be there, right? And but a lot of people do it because it's the experience, it's the networking, it's an event that they look forward to justify that once a year of like, okay, this is what it's all about. And I don't think there's a lot of money saving going on, to be honest. It's not cheap, right? So the experience has to weigh in my opinion, a lot more for people to constantly, you know, be going to these events, right? So that's big on me. You know, it's no longer necessarily about the flips, you know, or necessarily, making money. But it's more so, you know, the experience that, you know, people are having as hobbyists, why they stick around in the hobby. You know, a lot of the people have kind of left the hobby from, you know, that investor mindset, that flipping mindset. So you're seeing a lot more true people in it for the long term now. So I think the experience is going to be key for, you know, the National to step up to basically play ball with, you know, the Fanatics level, right? So.
Agreed.
Right. I think from like a Wi-Fi cell coverage perspective, you know, it sucks. And sometimes you want to say it's kind of unacceptable, but that's really tough to control because you'd really have to spend some serious wireless cell coverage infrastructure money, right? But if it is true that the venue's too hot and there's, let's say, no AC, man, that's unacceptable to me because, you know, in the Toronto Expo, which is also a big show for Canadians, when I walk around and it's fully air conditioned in there. And just the walking around, like I'm sweating in an air conditioned room. So I can't imagine what it's like walking around that giant venue, probably lugging a fairly big backpack. With no AC, oh my goodness! That's not acceptable. Like that, that's a no-go,
with
man.
With 95% sweaty dudes.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say a lot of sweaty sacks.
Yeah, that's you know, not an experience I want to repeat if I if that was my impression of the National going into it. But yeah, maybe. In this case, competition would be would work out for the people attending and for the vendors for sure. So you hope that there's much improvement there moving forward. Well, speaking of Fanatics, I haven't heard much from them at the National, although they are there. I wonder if they're just gearing up for a big event of their own. Thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're so independently strong that they don't need to make a presence and market, you know, in other people's events, but they need to be there. They are a big part of the hobby, and that this is what, like, I feel like it's not eliminating the National. You know, they could coexist, like we spoke about, and you know, each serves its purpose. So I think Fanatics events, future events, are going to be totally different than what, you know, the National is. Yeah. Per se. Yeah.
For sure. All right. Lastly, I heard the vendors are going to vote for the location of the National in 2026. And then that vote is going to be taken into consideration when deciding where to ultimately host the event, right? So because 2024 is in Cleveland, which we just said, 2025 is in Chicago. So those are already set, right? And I guess the next decision is for 2026. The three choices are Chicago again. So that would be back to back if it happens. Atlantic City, where it's been a few times already. And the third choice is Atlanta, which I believe the last time it was held there was 1999. So it's been a while, but the city is in consideration again. So which one would you have voted for if you could, and why?
Oh man, I'm going 100% ATL, Atlanta. Yeah, I think it's a different crowd there too, especially baseball. Like, they love baseball. They love the Braves, like huge Braves network. But I'm not a fan personally of the northern cities, to be honest. I mean, they're nice, Chicago, Atlantic City, that's where it usually is and stuff like that. But, you know, I'd like to see it somewhere like Atlanta. I think that'd totally change the vibe, totally change pretty much kind of like the whole scenery, and you know, I'd be up for it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
Have you been to Atlanta?
I've been to Atlanta a few times. Yeah. I'm played ball or in the Sally League and, you know, through Macon and Savannah and all that. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that side of, you know, the baseball Atlanta side, because it was just hot and miserable and, you know, but yeah.
Cool.
I'll take Hyung's word for it. I've never been to Atlanta, so it sounds good.
You catch a Braves game too. You know, you get
true.
to see Acuna.
That'd be cool.
I think Chicago is a perfect place, to be honest, if they're going to continue repeating, because Chicago is the fan base well represents all of the major sports, including hockey for Canadians. So I think it's a good sort of neutral ground to be at. But I always thought Atlantic City was okay, but when I see and I've never been there personally, but when I see a lot of the comments, people are like, "Boo!"
Yeah, people don't want Atlantic City at all.
All the Americans, so I'm like, "Oh, I guess Atlantic City."
Well, there's
sucks.
no options. It's expensive. It's just you're stuck in that, you know, strip
in that little
gambling
area.
and
You're losing even more money gambling.
I mean, it's just really expensive, I think, girl.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I haven't heard a good thing about Atlantic City, especially the last one that they had. Everyone was just kind of putting it down. I would vote for Chicago too, just for a lot of the same reasons Johnny mentioned. And you know, Atlanta, if they have a venue and the AC doesn't work there, like I would be miserable.
Yeah, that so, I think that would be a little too tough right there.
yeah. But you know, I guess with the national being such a large event, it really limits where you could actually have it. Like there's a few places you can really host a large scale event with that. So I'll have a bit of empathy there for organizers, but yeah, it's gotta be rectified somehow, I think. Okay, so yeah, again, hopefully everyone that's out there is safe and having fun, and can't wait to catch up with some of our hobby friends when they come back and discuss it a little bit further about this year's national. All right, for our discussion today, for our loyal podcast listeners, they would know we had a fantasy sports card draft a couple of months ago where we each tried, each meaning myself, Hyung, and John, we tried to build a team of 5 players whose general card values, according to the CardLadder index, would increase the most by the end of the year. And we started in June, so it's just a 6-month period. And the pool of 15 total players was from a combination of PWCC's list of top 10 most collected players, and 5 more we chose on our own. Guys like Lionel Messi, Tiger Woods, and 3 more. So anyway, we'll link that episode in the show notes below so you can hear our draft episode just to see how that happened. But I just wanted to provide a 2-month update on this Friday episode to see how our teams have been doing and see if there are any surprises on how the card values of any of our players have performed. All right. So just to recap for our listeners and for our first-time listeners, the team that John chose, and John was, if you guys remember, he chose first in our draft, in our snake draft. He chose Jackie Robinson, Tiger Woods, Patrick Mahomes, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James. All right. I chose Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. So that was my team. And Hyung chose Lionel Messi, Mike Trout, Stephen Curry, Tom Brady, and Wayne Gretzky was the last pick of that draft. Only in this draft will Wayne Gretzky be the last pick. So after 2 months, in first place is yours truly. My portfolio, my team has increased in value by 6.78%, right? Second place is John, who is down 6.82%. So I am the only positive. I'm the only one making money here in this draft. And Hyung is third place again, back to back, June and July, at minus 13.23%. So we'll dig a bit deeper on why that is, okay? And then we'll go into like if that makes sense, or are we surprised at any of these findings? So let's start with John. So he's at minus 6.82%. And the main reason really is because LeBron James cards values have plummeted to minus 27%.
Karma's getting you. All that LeBron hate has gotten stuck with LeBron James.
Damn, LeBron.
You asked for it, John. You
Yeah.
asked for it. So, yeah. So, I don't know what, maybe it was the timing of LeBron cards being at peak value, and then,
I would say timing for sure. I think it's not the greatest timing for basketball cards in general.
Yeah.
And
don't worry.
I think,
Hyung and I, we've got some time. Clark, your team is baseball heavy, so you got a little bit of a
yours is
leg
Shohei
up
heavy.
right now. Yeah, wait till the second half. Hyung and I will be second half players when our football and basketball cards come in.
Yeah, I got to just hold on for dear life, I think, near October, November, December. So we'll see how it goes. But and on the plus side for John, the only one that's been showing a return is Jackie Robinson. Nice. And we knew the vintage play would be the more safe play going into the draft. So he's at plus 6.45%. All right. So yeah, and everyone else is kind of like hovering between 0 to -3, -4%. Okay. So let's go on to my team. I'm at plus 6.78%, and the number one reason why I'm up is because of a player named Shohei Ohtani.
He's so good.
Dude, who would have thought, man?
He hit 2 home runs today and threw a complete game.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I love it. So yeah, since June, his value has increased almost 63%.
Wow.
So that is my, when you have a portfolio, all you need is one, right? All you need is one good asset to just skyrocket to make up for all your other losses. Yeah. And that's kind of my portfolio. Everything else is 0 or negative. Actually, Michael Jordan's up 1.49%, so not by much.
Oh, nice.
And my vintage play is coming in perfectly with Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth. They're at 0% and minus 0.26%. So not a lot of fluctuation there. So I took it safe. And someone who did not take it safe is Hyung's team. In terms of pure value, dollar value, Hyung's team just blows all of ours out of the water because of guys like Tom Brady cards, Stephen Curry cards, and even Mike Trout cards because there's so many of them, right? So main two reasons why his team is down minus 13% is first, Tom Brady is taking a beating at minus 32% in terms of value. Could be timing as well. Football's off.
Football, I think timing, and also it happened with Mahomes. Not saying Brady was same as Mahomes, but like the prices were so inflated that once he becomes out of the limelight, it's like is it sustainable? And kind of like Shohei, it's like if he's not in the limelight, can those prices sustain? Right? It's kind of like the same I think scenario at those A type athletes
for sure. And you look at Patrick Mahomes, he actually didn't drop that much, minus 1% versus Tom Brady. And I think the factor is Tom Brady actually retired. Yeah. So that might be a factor. Mahomes is going to come back, right?
And Mahomes had his fall, I find. Like in the last year, last 2 years, he's been tumbling. And then Brady's is probably within the last 12 months, I'd say.
For sure. The number 2 player, the most that decreased other than Brady in your team is Mike Trout at minus 12%. And that's also understandable to me with the injury now, especially over the last month. You might have seen that drop more significantly. But as we predicted, the one guy that's really keeping your team afloat barely right now is Lionel Messi. He's plus 10.38%. Right. And of course, him coming to Miami the last few weeks has been a boost for your team for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Messi. All right. Well, 2 months in, but we got August, September, October, 5 more months. So it's still early.
Mm-hmm. The moral of the story is you keep on investing in sports cards month to month, you lose money.
And
also, if you invested in Shohei,
that's wild.
Yeah, you're good.
It's crazy to think when we actually did the draft, I think Shohei was projected to be one of the last picks because he was already crazy inflated.
Right.
It's like one of the rare situations where if you had bought into the FOMO back then, you would have actually made money, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he was like the middle of the draft guy. No one really went for him early, Like for me at that point, it was worth the value at that spot. But you're right. Okay, well, we'll keep you guys apprised. We'll update on our Instagram and social media feeds. Anyone interested in our little fantasy sports card draft, and I think we talked about this off air, right? We were going to put a little bit of a wager on it, and I think we come to the agreement that the winner will receive a blaster box of whatever sports card at the end of the year.
We got to up the ante a bit.
No, that's not enough.
Yeah, the blaster box. Maybe a
What are you
2018
gonna do?
Cups
A jumbo box?
update. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a 8-month process here, boys.
Let's do it.
All right, okay, we'll talk off air.
A hobby box, a hobby box of something. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm feeling good right now. So
there you go. Bait Clarkin.
Ask me again in October. I might feel really differently. All right, so there you go. We'll definitely keep you guys updated. And that actually ends our Friday episode. Again, we all appreciate you guys listening out there. And we'll see you soon on our brand new Tuesday episode coming up. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.